I have a message tonight from Merrick Garland and Jack Smith and Joe Biden. And the guys back there in the fake news media, you should listen up as well. This one's for you. If you want to get to President Trump, you're going to have to go through me, and you're going to have to go through 75 million Americans just like me. And I'm going to tell you, yep, most of us are card-carrying members of the NRA. That's not a threat. That's a public service announcement.
How self-satisfied she is. That's not a threat, it's a public service announcement, meaning it's a threat, but I legally have to say it's not a threat, even though I did just threaten you with my gun and the gun of 75 million people. That's right, over the weekend, Kari Lake made it very clear that Trump supporters should come armed to protest his indictment. She's not the only one. Even after Donald Trump got indicted for a second time last week, this time federally, 37 counts just to remind you, his support among the MAGA base is unwavering, some even calling for civil war. Stay tuned for that, Jim, but I'd like to also just point out here before we continue in this story that the false bravado that these complete jokes of people, these complete jokes of fake leaders that are just there for attention and fame they don't even have any sort of substance behind what they say. You're gonna have to come through me to get to Donald Trump. Really? You don't think he's gonna be showing up to that courthouse Tuesday? Is Kari Lake gonna be standing in the middle? Is there gonna be 75 million people or even one person in the way? He's gonna be escorted right in. He's gonna be fingerprinted, mugshot, and let right out. And while some don't give a damn about whether or not he's convicted for espionage under federal law, others are saying Trump is infallible and should not even have any opposition campaigns while facing indictment. They don't even want a backup plan. After facing indictment for a large amount of crimes, still they say he should be our only man, our only bet. Let's start with human dolphin fetus Charlie Kirk. The right-wing chud is calling for solidarity for Trump by asking all 2024 candidates to drop out of the race, writing, every Republican, quote unquote, running for president should suspend their campaign and go to Miami as a show of support. If you don't, you are part of the problem. Either we have an opposition party or we don't. Go to Miami Tuesday and show solidarity, or we will mark you as part of the opposition. None of these dudes can even spell. And while Kirk's call might seem crazy, it does speak directly to the MAGA base whose support for Trump is not at all affected by the new indictment. A new poll, not surprisingly, finds, according to The Hill, 80% of likely GOP voters think Trump should still be able to be president if convicted on federal espionage charges. Do you understand the level of idiocy banging around in these people's brains, if you can call them brains? I call it styrofoam empty space. More from the poll. The CBS News YouGov poll found just 12% of GOP primary voters said they're more concerned the documents were a national security risk, compared to 76% who said they're more concerned the indictment against Trump was politically motivated. 61% in that group also said the indictment, quote, won't change their view of the former president. Well, I guess once you've sunk to a place real low, once we're in that sunken place, no teacup spinning around is gonna pull you out of it. In fact, check this. Trump polled at the top of a hypothetical Republican field, leading with 61% who say they'll vote for him. In second place was Florida Governor Ron DeSantis with 23%. So that is where we're at. Farron, how does this all hit you?
Well, I'd like to say that I'm actually gonna stand in solidarity also with Charlie Kirk, and I want all other Republicans to drop out of the race right now. It should only be Trump. I mean, he's already got it on lockdown anyway, so y'all really aren't losing anything by dropping out right now. But what should be happening with these Republicans is they should be sending Jack Smith gift baskets, right? They should be behind closed doors, popping champagne corks, because he may be doing their dirty work for them. When you break out of those, Republican only polls, and we look at the polls that actually include the moderate voters, the independent voters, majority of those folks do not want Donald Trump to run for president again. Majority do not want him to be president again. Majority believe that he should be convicted. So most people in this country do not want Trump again. And if Jack Smith succeeds in actually having a successful prosecution and conviction of Trump, he just did them all a massive favor by taking away that giant liability from the Republican ticket. I mean, Republicans in the Senate are already sweating what's gonna happen if Trump's at the top of the ticket, how that's gonna affect their chances to take back the Senate. Same thing in the House. They know how toxic he is. So again, they should be thanking Jack Smith. Obviously, they can't do it publicly, but maybe a couple gift baskets here and there, a gift card to Cracker Barrel, whatever it is that they hate this week. That's what they should do, because he is helping them more than anything else they could imagine. But they don't want to accept it. They just want to say, oh, you're investigating Trump? Good, we're gonna kill you. That's where they're at. But Smith is actually doing them a massive favor if he can get Trump off their ticket.
And they only can't do it publicly because they are enormous cowards. Ray Vanna, weigh in, please.
Yeah, first I want to say thank you to Carrie Lake, because I learned something today that I didn't learn in law school, which is you can threaten the life of the Attorney General of the United States as long as after it you say it wasn't a threat, and then they can't do anything to you. It negates
and the president. And the
president. I will say, I think it's really funny, and it's not just Carrie Lake, it's all conservatives, especially the ones in media, who will hold up like Merrick Garland and Jack Smith and Joe Biden as like the enemy. And in my mind, these are pretty feckless individuals. Merrick Garland was, a compromise to try to get him through the Senate to be confirmed to be a Supreme Court justice, not someone who's, been shown any sort of industry to take on tough issues. I mean, we've seen a massive rise in hate crimes, but his Justice Department hasn't actually gone after hate crime perpetrators at the same level that they've been increasing. Joe Biden is a sundowning man, so there's that. Charlie Kirk's statement, I think, is a fine suggestion with me, honestly. I'd rather Trump be the nominee than DeSantis. So if they all want to drop out, although Ann Coulter had an even better suggestion. I'm not going to repeat it. I'll let everybody look that up on their own. It was a real case of the worst person just says something you agree with.
Oh, well, now I'm very curious. My goodness, can you summarize it?
She said something a little more serious than the rest of the candidates, just suspending their campaign, potentially suspending everything.
Yeah, moving on from this life to the next, basically.
That's really sweet of her. That is very, very sweet of her. I mean, it just not only speaks to the moral ineptitude of these people, but the political ineptitude. As you perfectly put it also, Farron, is any of these candidates, if DeSantis said, look, this is a bridge too far. We don't want the weaponization of government, but seeing these charges, if it's true, he could just say, if it's true, if it's proven to be true, this man literally is guilty of hiding and refusing to return classified documents. That is not a government conspiracy. We can still root out weaponization of government, use his own talking point, but not in the case of someone willfully committing espionage, willfully withholding documents. And they won't even do it politically. It's just they would so much rather just take on the opposition in absurd, comical, clownish ways. And it gets worse. With the calls for violence, it actually gets frighteningly worse, especially when we look at the number of Americans who are totally fine with using violence to put Trump back into the White House. Look at this headline: disturbing. 12 million US adults think violence is justified to put Trump back in White House. Quote, we're heading into an extremely tumultuous election season, said one expert. What's happening in the United States is political violence is going from the fringe to the mainstream. And they're not kidding. Trump supporters are already calling for civil war after news of his indictment. Quote from a user on the Donald, according to Vice News, quote, perhaps it's time for that civil war that the damn Demo KKK rats have been trying to start for years now, right? We've been trying to start a civil war on the Democratic side. Of course we have, right? By trying to be inclusive of everybody. And the threats get scarier as they get more specific, of course. In one post on the Donald titled, "A Little Bit About Merrick Garland, His Wife, His Daughters," a user shared a link to an article about the Attorney General's children. Under the post, another user replied, "His children are fair game as far as I'm concerned." In another post about the special counsel conducting the probe, one user on the Donald wrote, "Jack Smith should be arrested the minute he steps foot in the red state of Florida." So there's that. Farron, any thoughts?
You know, I think back to when Republicans took back over the House at the beginning of this year, and they told us repeatedly, like, we're gonna get Biden, we're gonna get Hunter Biden, we're investigating all of them. And the response from the Democratic side was, all right, do your investigations. I mean, whatever, like, we don't care. And then with Trump, it's like, hey, we gotta indict this guy because we've got so much crazy evidence. And they're like, okay, cool, we're just gonna kill you. Like, we're just gonna load up our guns and we're gonna do these horrific things. So, that's how we are. But the contrast could not be more stark between the two parties, especially on this particular issue. But I would also, just wanna say, we look at these things, we see these posts on the Donald, and Vice, that story did a phenomenal job of laying it all out there. And we would really love to think, or at least I would, that these are nothing more than a bunch of keyboard warriors talking tough online, but in reality, they're not gonna do anything. But we can't even assume that anymore. Because of January 6th and because of all of the violence that we've seen from these people in other instances, we have to take every single threat they lob online seriously. We have to act like this is not a threat, it is a promise. And I hope that the law enforcement down in South Florida is doing that. There are reports that they're trying to beef it up, they're trying to figure it out, but I don't know if they are treating it as the threat that it should be treated. These people posting these things shouldn't just, we shouldn't just be on the lookout for them. The cops should have already been knocking on their doors this morning is what should have happened, but it didn't.
100%, Ray.
Yeah, I think one thing about this that's really ironic is if you ask those 12 million, Jesus Christ, just saying that number is depressing. If you ask those 12 million Americans who want to use violence to install Donald Trump as the president, or if you ask those people who are posting on the Donald about, who are like threatening the lives of Merrick Garland's daughters and wife, were saying that Jack Smith should be arrested if he touches a toe in Florida. If you ask them if they think that they're defending democracy, I promise you they would say yes. I promise you they would say that this is democratic, that we need, that this is how we protect democracy, is by overthrowing a democratically elected president and installing our God, King, Emperor, dictator Donald Trump.
The very definition of democracy, violently installing a dictator. Anybody can look it up. Everyone's got access to the dictionary, just like we do. Although I do think there's an argument for arresting just anyone generally for stepping foot into Florida. I think that's a decent argument. And I say that realizing I'm risking my own freedom because I did just have a great time in Miami recently. If Miami weren't so damn fun, if South Beach weren't so damn fun, I'd be down with cutting the whole state off and letting it float off into the ocean. But they always have one fun city in the middle of these horrible repressive states that just lets them hang on by a thread and remain ones we want to keep in the country. Trump, of course, is scheduled to appear at 3 p.m. tomorrow, this Tuesday, at the Florida Southern District Courthouse in downtown Miami, where he will be formally charged. We're going to Miami, my friends. And Kari Lake is not the only one who is going to be there. Only one who's going to be there. Many of Trump's violent supporters are already planning protests. Quote, "Who's coming with me on Tuesday? I'll be the one in the F around and find out armor. Easy to find, KEK on the back collar." One member of the Donald wrote on Friday, quote, "I will be there peacefully to speak up about this misjustice. Legally, I will also be armed, well armed." The Christian conservative group Florida Republican Assembly said they chartered 4 buses to bring Trump fans from all corners of the state to Miami. And if you ask yourself why they're always being chartered in buses, None of these people drive or have cars. Buses is their preferred way to get around. Let somebody else drive them to the protests. They're well armed. They're licensed to carry a weapon, just not licensed to operate a vehicle. My goodness. Take a look, for example, at this flyer, this advertisement that Vice News uncovered of the Florida Republican Assembly.com. Get involved in the FRA family. America First Freedom Road Trip. MAGA Trump flag and sign waving rally. How exciting for them. Show your support for President Donald J. Trump with his weird crooked thumbs. Only 4 buses available. RSVP via chapter president. Bring snacks. Like that's what they need. 10 a.m. the buses depart from the Walmart. Of course, that's where they depart. They gotta depart from a Walmart. And at 9:30, the bus arrives back at the Walmart before closing time so they can get their Walmart shopping in. It does not help that far-right talking heads are also supporting these calls. Laura Loomer, far-right activist and failed congressional candidate in Florida, also organized what she called a, quote, peaceful rally to protest the weaponization of government on Tuesday outside the courthouse. We are in trouble, but the good news is there's a discount on bullets at Walmart. I don't know what's happening. There's always some hope left, at least with getting discounts on summer slip and slides. So there's always a silver lining. Wild.
I want to say, I think if you put into an AI prompt, give me the most stereotypical Republican, redneck thing, it would come up with that little flyer that you just mentioned, because that is like every Republican buzzword, every Republican stereotype in one thing in that little flyer there. It's unbelievable how little self-awareness any of these people have. It's hilarious, actually.
Would it be possible to pull that flyer up again? Because if you look at the acronym on it, if you were to read it out loud, it would be a fart.
The good AFFRT organization, join us for a fart to support President Trump. And really one of their stronger acronyms thus far. Good luck, you guys. I hope you're able to stop Trump from getting into that courthouse. My money's on not.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.